Hi, Houston. It's Mary Scally with Around H-Town with Simple-elegance, and I am so excited today to have Elizabeth Greever here with us. And welcome, welcome, welcome. You are going to love her. I get to watch her on Facebook all the time, and she is amazing. And so, welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here and I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you. Thanks for what you're doing for the community, bringing this podcast to everybody.
Well, I am excited. You know, it's something that we had been talking about forever. I'm so technically challenged. And luckily, I have a son that is actually very technically amazing. And so finally, I just said, Jonathan, make this happen. Whatever
Yeah.
you need, you purchase, and we're going to do this because I think it's really, really important to really get to know our community and the amazing people that we have here in Houston and all the different opportunities that are going on. So I am just so excited to do this. It's so much fun. And Elizabeth, tell us about the journey that you have been on. Well, first, tell us your company. I know your husband and you have a flipping company, or you're investors. And so tell us about your company. And then tell us about the journey that has kind of brought you to where you are today.
Okay. Well, yes, thank you. My husband and I own a real estate investment company. It's called Everson Cooper. And we started it 4.5 years ago. So it's my full time. It's my all day, every day. He's got another job that he does, his day job, if you will, but he loves it and he's happy. So that's amazing. But we always wanted to get into real estate investing. Both of our grandparents are investors. And so it was something that we wanted to do. We just had no idea how to get started and, whatever. So
Right, because
we
it's
started
like people have that, they're like, they see all these HGTVs and all these flips, and it's like, well, how do you do it?
how do
So,
you do all that? Yes. And so I mean, we had no idea. And I was too dumb when I was young to, not even ask my grandparents, right? So should have. And anyways, and so we always wanted to do it. It was a passion thing for us. And so when we started Everson Cooper, we wanted it to be a legacy for our family. We want it to be something that means something to everybody that will come after us, the way that what our grandparents did has for us. And so um, our name is very near and dear to us. Ever is the last part of Greever, which is our married name. San is the first part of Santangelo, which is my maiden name. And Cooper was our chocolate lab that we had for many, many years. We actually just lost him about 6 weeks ago.
oh.
But he was the best and with us every day, all the time. And so he is the Cooper and Everson Cooper. Um, and he continues to live on with us in our company and all the things that we still do to talk about him. So it means something to us, and we want to be able to impact people with what we're doing. So that's our company. I actually moved to Texas in 2010. I was a special education teacher. I got my master's in A&M, and I was teaching junior high special ed for six
Wow.
years. And I really loved it for a long time, but I needed a change at some point, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't know what there was to do. And what ended up being my last school year, we were renovating our kitchen, or we were going to, because when we bought the house that we live in, I wanted an old, ugly home, So it kind of was always in me to be like, no, I want a house that I can fix. I want a house I can, make my own instead of one that's ready to go. And so we bought a house that was dated and needed lots of work. And so the kitchen was the first thing that we did. But at the time, I had no idea what I was doing.
Mhm.
I knew how to watch HTV. I knew how to look on Pinterest, but I didn't know how to execute that and make that a thing. And so I had somebody come over, the designer, and she just helped guide me a little bit and give me
Mhm.
some pointers and ideas. And I told her that we wanted the house to be our first rental property because at some point we'll move out, we'll need a bigger home. And so that would be our rental house. And they have a ton of rental properties. And she said, you have got to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, okay.
Love
So I
that
ordered the
book.
book. Yes, it's such a good book. And it's such a good mindset
Mhm.
shift, whether you're in real estate or not, just the
Right.
mindset of it is fabulous. And so I read that book and I was like, I don't know what this man is talking about, but I'm going to figure it out. And so every day at lunch, I would sit at my desk and I would read articles and watch videos and anything I could get my hands on. What in the world was going on and how are these people doing all these investments? So we ended up at a weekend class um, at the end of that school year. And I was like, I can totally do this. And so we formed our LLC, and I thought, worst case scenario at work, like, we'll at least have an LLC to hold our, properties one day or whatever. But let's just get started. And so that summer when school got out, I started networking. I was going to BNI meetings and any other meeting I could get my hands on. And I knew I was on the hunt for a real estate attorney, title companies, realtors, a CPA. I knew I needed some key people.
Right. You
And
needed to
what perfect
build your
way.
partnership.
Yes, exactly. I needed people to help me. I didn't know what I was doing. So anyways, and so that was like the big start for me, was finding these people and just getting connected. Um, but then I just ended up meeting with anybody and everybody, anybody that would sit down. Great, even if we didn't go together industry wise. I just like getting to know people. It's fun. It's neat to hear different stories and perspectives and all the things. And so that summer, I was like, I cannot go back to school. Like, this is just not gonna work. I can't go back. I need to do this. And so I quit my job, which was the most terrifying thing I've probably ever done.
Uh-huh.
It was pretty
It's like
brutal.
the security of a paycheck to the question of, well, real estate investing is
Yeah,
a lot of money going out.
yes, yes, yes.
So totally
That
understand.
paycheck was so comfortable. I knew,
Uh-huh.
and I was getting paid every single month. Um, anyways, and so it was terrifying, but I did it, and I cried the whole way to my school to meet with my principal. I mean, I was so scared. Um, but I've never looked back.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say I haven't said, like, man, I should go like work at Starbucks or something, right? Because like you feel like you're failing, I think we've all been there. Like, okay,
Mhm.
I guess I'm gonna go work over here. But in regards to going back to education or anything like that, or regretting starting my business, not
Mhm.
once. I mean, I love what I do, and I've really found something I'm passionate about. And so that's kind of how I guess got into real estate. And now it's just been 4.5 years, which is crazy that it's been that long.
How many
Um,
houses do you think that you have actually given a new life to? Is really what you do.
well, let's see. We have done 13, 14, 25 houses that we ourselves like have renovated. Well, let me rephrase that. Not me. I have not painted the walls or installed the cabinets, but
You have a team to do this with,
yes,
but
we do.
you've
We
been the
do.
person that has driven it, designed it,
Yes.
seen through what others could not see.
Yes.
And and I love that here's this house or this home that has stories in it.
Yes.
And but it's kind of maybe not looking so lovely right now, but it still has more stories to tell, and you're
Yes.
giving it that option.
Yes.
And also changing lives for families, which is so exciting.
It really is so cool. I believe that everyone deserves a beautiful place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard when your house is not that safe place anymore. And it's not about necessarily physical safety, like, oh, I'm worried somebody's going to break in. But when you come home and you're like, gosh, I really need to fix that, or this faucet's broken, or
Mm-hmm.
my roof is leaking, or the house is so dated and I've never been able to renovate it, or anything like that, where the house itself is just causing you stress and angst, it's not easy to live in that.
Mm-mm.
And so I think it's really important for people to be in a place that they do feel safe and they feel like they can grow. And
That's
I love
so
that.
true.
So I love that I'm able to help people get out of those
Mm-hmm.
situations when they are in that kind of spot. But then I also love that I get to create a safe space for people to live.
Right,
And
right.
um, so I kind of get to touch the whole spectrum there. And I love that.
And I think that's, you said something really important right there, too, Elizabeth. It, not everybody realizes this, but that, some people, they are so in deep on their house, or, something tragic has happened. They really don't have the money to sell their, or money to fix their house, or the time or the patience or whatever to get that house on the sold on a normal market, but real estate investors can come buy along, and they can really help. And how can you help somebody that is maybe in a situation that they maybe never planned on being, but how can you help them get out of their house?
Yeah, for sure. So, I always say too, like you said it, sometimes it's that they don't have the time or the money, and sometimes it's that they don't want to spend the time or the money.
Correct.
They may have plenty of money to be able to renovate the house completely, but they don't want to. It is such a big undertaking
It is.
to
Well, and
start
if
and
especially
manage
if you're going to
a
live in
job.
it too, it's like,
Oh
oh.
my gosh. Living through construction is not fun. We have formally done that twice in our own home. And we do this for a living now. And I'm still pulling my hair out. Like, what is happening? It is not easy. And
No.
so, when it really just comes down to this house is not a place where they either want to be or can be. It can sometimes it's financial and sometimes it's not. But ultimately, with us, they have an opportunity to sell it in the exact condition that it's in. So
Yeah.
I tell people when I'm walking the house, like, if you sell it to me and it looks the same way when I buy it the day I buy it, great. You
Mhm.
can leave whatever you don't want to take, sell, pack, whatever. I mean, you are welcome to do that because we want to make that transition easy for them.
Right. Right.
We want to be as seamless as we possibly to help them move on and
Yeah,
so
they could literally just
little
walk
things
out the
like that
door and you'll take care of the rest.
will take care of the
Exactly.
rest. Yeah.
Which
So it's just little things like that because moving for anybody is stressful. It's a lot. It's overwhelming. How do I possibly have this many things? Like, and so it's I think important to be able to add that aspect of it to the transaction so that they recognize that, like, I just get to move and take with me what matters and
Mhm.
leave the rest.
Exactly, exactly. It's I had no idea. Like when I got into home staging, I really didn't I was excited about it, but I really didn't understand the real estate business.
And
And and then when I started working with investors and I was like I remember talking to Sam Craven, and I don't know if you know Sam Craven, but anyway, and he's like, "Well, Mary, we market, all like quite a we put a lot of money into marketing because
yeah,
we're looking for that person that just wants to walk out, does not want
yep,
to go through the whole selling process. And,
yep,
maybe they're not going to get top dollar, but they're going to get the money that they need to walk forward. And sometimes, just not having that mortgage anymore is the biggest thing
yes,
to them. So I
yes,
was like, oh, I didn't realize that there was another option. And
yeah,
then you come in and do the magic on the house and sell it for top dollar. Actually, I was listening to, I had a bunch of work this past weekend, and I'm actually going to put these headphones on. Um, and um, it was really cute because it was, I forget what show it was, but it was this electrician had come over to fix something on a house, and he realized that that was just this much of the issue on the house. And so he decided he was going to rewire the whole house for this little old lady complimentary. And then he put it out on Facebook and asked for all trades to come and help this woman complimentary. And they rebuilt this woman's house. And it was a small town USA little thing. And I was like, wow, look at the love and look what that
it-
did to that woman. It changed her life. It
yeah,
changed her life. She saw that somebody cared for her, that somebody loved her.
yeah.
So, which is huge, huge, huge,
That
huge.
is huge. That's
So,
amazing.
I know, I was like, whoa, there are good people in this country or in
Of
this
course.
world. There's wonderful people.
Of
So,
course there are.
what does the average person not understand about the home flipping business or the investor business?
Um, how much it actually costs to renovate? um, the unexpected things that come up, like, so HGTV always has a very dramatic thing that happens, right? That they have to navigate through this unexpected thing, but that is real. Like, I don't know if what happens on HGTV is real, but the fact that there are issues
Mm-hmm.
you were not expecting is a very real thing for
Yep.
most houses. Um,
Exactly.
and so it's just important. I always tell people houses are living, breathing things.
Mm-hmm.
They're always changing, and there's things running through them: air, gas, electricity, water. I mean, all of this stuff. And so you have to recognize that a house is living and breathing
Mm-hmm.
and exposed to the elements and all the things. And so stuff comes up, and it is not fun when it does, but it does. And so we really try and be very diligent about what is it that we are renovating.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure we're not overdoing, but we
Right.
also want to make sure we're not underdoing, right? Because we want to go to market and
Mm-hmm.
get that top dollar, and we can only get it if we've done things correctly.
Right.
Um, but also it's okay, but are we factoring in some buffer here in case things don't go right?
Yeah.
And it's really important to factor that in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's easy to look at a house and be like, this will cost 25 or 30,000. And it's just, and something that we're actually experiencing now is that the cost of materials is going up.
Cost of materials
And
has doubled like through
yes,
COVID, because we can't get them here, and it's horrible at times,
it
Um,
is. It's, well, and I always order all of our like faucets and lights and stuff. So now two sections of 2 rooms in my house are filled with faucets, lights, cabinet pulls, all these things that we don't need yet, but I ordered them now because I don't want to get to a point where we need them and we don't have them.
right.
And so it's just been very interesting to go through these projects now with everything that's going on. But I think just the time it takes to renovate and the cost that it really takes to renovate.
That's true. That is so true. And the surprises that you get.
Yeah.
Uh, you open up a wall. I was actually on this, I had been called for jury duty, and happened to be a real estate situation. And this person that had bought this house from this other guy, 5 years previous, was suing the previous owner because when he opened up the walls, there was issues. And I was like, "Excuse me, sir. Anytime you open up a wall, there can be issues." Guess what? They were like, "Get rid of her."
Oh my
I
God.
was told I could leave. So
You are welcome to excuse yourself.
exactly. They wanted the people that didn't say a word, and I'm like, yeah, I have too many other things. I want to get out of here. But that's the truth. How can you
It's
go back to somebody 5 years later and say, "Oh, open the walls"? What did you know? So it's not that. I remember, as you said, Elizabeth, with where your house is now being overtaken by supplies for your business. When I first got into the staging business, my first conference that I went to, there was a staging company that did an evolution of a warehouse, a staging warehouse. Okay. It was very, very interesting. And it was a couple that owned this business in the DC area. And they basically turned their house or their home into their warehouse until they could afford to get a warehouse. So the dining room was like all chairs, the living room was like all art. Their bedroom, their headboard was kind of kitty corner going into their bedroom because they'd had it at somebody else's house and they were sleeping on a mattress on the floor. And I'm like
Yep.
looking at this and I'm like, what have I signed up for? My husband will kill me. So, but as
Yep.
a business owner, you're constantly looking at how can I save some cost. And
Yep.
my husband, I would take things from our house all the time. He'd be like, "Mary, I just got popcorn." I'm like, "Oh, it's in another house, honey. It's okay." But I bought it for me. So, anyway, but that's too funny.
Look at
So
it.
I know. What have been some of your recent success stories?
Man, I don't really know how to answer that. Um, I guess I don't know how to answer that. I feel successful when we get a good family into a rental home,
Mm-hmm.
and that just happened. We bought a house a couple months ago, fixed it up, put it on the market, got a renter, and our renters are like family to us, and so like to me that's such a it's a blessing. I, of course, hope to be a blessing back to them.
Hmm.
And I find that to be very rewarding, um, to provide a space for these people. Um, it's very fulfilling to me too to be talking to homeowners that are selling me their home and they get emotional. They're so relieved, they feel
Hmm.
so free. Again, even if it's not a financial thing, it's just the house can sometimes just be a burden
Hmm.
for different reasons. And
Right.
when they realize that they're like right there and we're like about to close or whatever, and we're talking and it's just emotional, um, it fills me up. It really makes me feel good and proud and grateful for what I'm doing. And, people always say super nice things, thank you so much. You helped my family, all these really great
Hmm.
things. And I always say, but like back at, like, thank you so much. Like, you are blessing my family by selling me your house.
Yeah.
And so it goes both ways.
Right.
And I think that's important for people to know. Like,
Uh-huh.
when you choose to work with me, it matters. It impacts my life and my family and what we're doing. And so I want people to know that. I think it's important. And so it's nice when you have those of just like pure gratitude for each other and the situation. And I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question
Yes,
very well,
it
but
does actually.
yeah.
And that's one of the things Karen's like, Elizabeth is always doing moments of gratitude on Facebook, and that's so true. It's like you need to be thankful for everything that's been given to you, and every opportunity is
Yes.
there's a how are you there's a moment of gratitude for it.
Yeah.
um, I was on Monday mornings, we have our Monday morning meeting, and one of the things is we always pray over, Lord, bring us opportunities to serve. It's not bring
I love
us the
that.
money, it's bring us
Right.
opportunities to serve, because that's how you change the world, is when we get to serve
Yes.
others,
Yeah.
and whether it's buying a house for somebody that's taking the burden off, or providing a house for your
Yeah.
renters, that's a huge thing too. So now I have a question, because I
Okay.
remember sitting at an investor. It was an investor situation, and they were teaching you how to be an investor. And one of the things
Okay.
that
Yeah.
they said is that want you want to have a property management company to manage your properties, because you don't want to be the person getting the phone call that the toilet isn't working. Do you use a
Yeah.
property manager, or do you do it your guys selves?
I do it myself.
You do it yourself.
Um,
Okay.
I get that. I do understand what they're saying, and
Hmm.
it is stressful when people need things, but at the same time, I believe in having a network of people around you. And
Hmm.
so my plumber, I can text him anytime. My AC guy, text him any guy. So these like crucial trades,
Right.
it is a simple text message. Hey,
Hmm.
I need house first thing tomorrow morning. Like, we're having an issue. They answer the phone call. It's just
Right.
nice. And so for me at this point, I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
managing these properties. I also think that there's comfort to the tenants to
Hmm.
know that, like, I'm a human.
Hmm.
I'm not an office that you're calling and you're gonna get a message after hours and whatever. And I try and manage expectations with my tenants. And so if it's something that you need that's not an emergency, send me an email. Hey, this
Hmm.
is what's going on. I don't know. And this plug isn't working,
Right.
right? Well, the plug not working is not an urgent, oh my gosh, we need to get over there now thing. Send me an email. You're going to hear back from me within 24 hours at max,
Hmm.
and so I will do it that way. But then if they need something, if something's going on and it's a bad thing, they can text me or call me or both or whatever. And so that helps too, so that I'm not getting completely bombarded.
Hmm.
So I think it's just learning how to manage that. And I can't say I've always been that way. I've always just kind of let everybody text me and what you need, but it's so easy for stuff to get lost, right?
Right.
And
Right. You've got to come down with
so
systems.
yeah, so it just makes it better to say, okay, email me if it's minor and text me or call me or both if it's not. And so that's just where we're at for now. It's for us. And I'm going to continue to do that. If I need to get a property management, cross that bridge. But I think at the end of the day, investing in real estate, everybody has a different preference for how they spend their time and money.
Mm-hmm.
Really, everybody in this world has a different preference for how they spend their time and
Right.
money, right? So things that are important to you may not be to me, and then we may have things that overlap. Who knows?
Right.
But ultimately, for me, I spend the money on a property manager. I'm willing to take on the calls and the text messages. But I think that also just goes back to like wanting to take care of these people and wanting to make sure that they know that they're heard and that needs are met. And I really believe that that helps with retention. Our very first renters, we still have them. We love them. I think the feeling is mutual. They've been with us for a long time. We've had 3 tenants leave us over the course of these years. 2 of them because of job moves, and then one of them they actually split up, and so they were moving out of the house. And but the one of the people with job moves, they actually just called me and were like, "Do you have any rentals? We need a house. Like, we want to rent with you again, you know." And so it was neat that they like moved back here, and they were looking for a house. And I think that I don't know. That, again, that fills me up, and that tells
That
me that we're doing
speaks, but that
something right.
speaks
And
to the relationship
yeah,
that you've built. And, you know,
yeah,
real estate is a relationship built business, you know?
it is. It is.
And um, this week on the Real Real Houston Producers, they had Mr. Thank You, and he talks about this. He did this little exercise. For 1 year, he wrote 5 thank you notes a day, and he challenged himself. Like, if I don't write it, then I have to do 100. I have to give $100 to charity. And his
Oh
um,
my gosh.
no, but wait a second. His business advisor said, "Oh no, that's not enough. Put another zero on it. If you don't write your 5, you have to give $1,000 to charity." And so for 365 days, he wrote his thank you notes. And he talked about, like, he was in the Cutco world, and he talked about one of his first sales being a person that ordered a few knives, and then she called back, and he was so excited, and she canceled it. But he decided to turn that around, and he wrote her a thank you note for everything. And the story ends that he actually was in college like 5 years later, and he gets a phone call from this person, and she orders every knife in the Cutco thing, okay? And he's like, "Well, tell me what's been going on." She goes, "I actually was very, very sick when I ordered those, and my children were going to come and take care of me, and I didn't know if I was going to live. But your note made me feel so important and that somebody cared. And I determined at that point, when I got your note, I held on to it, that if I recover, I'm going to buy everything from him." And I'm like, and a thank you note, a simple thank you note. And he said, "I'd be on a plane and I'd just write a thank you note and I'd give it to the pilot. Thank you so much for getting me here." And I'm just like,
Oh, I love that.
whoa, but that's that relationship, and
Yep.
you taking care of people. So
Yep.
anyway, I was just like, he's written a book. So I'm like, I can't wait till we get our copy and read
Yay.
that book. So Mr. Thank You. Anyway, so
Um,
isn't that
Just
awesome?
thank you. That is so cool.
So what are some of your
Gratitude
great,
matters.
what's that?
Gratitude matters.
Gratitude matters. It does. People really appreciate you taking that extra moment and saying, "Hey, thank you." Um,
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
anyway,
Yeah.
tell us about your gratitude on Facebook, actually.
Oh man, when I started doing that, it was actually almost a year ago. And it's funny that we're talking about it. I have not gone live all week. Oops.
Oops.
Um, it, it happens sometimes, and I just let it be okay. Like,
Mhm.
what am I gonna do? It just is what it is. It's supposed to be authentic anyway. So if I just get on there and do nothing, then who's gonna watch that? That's silly.
Right.
So, anyways, it was from an event that I was at last year called Live to Lead,
Uh huh.
and I can't remember what the table conversation was, but it ultimately was we need to determine something that we wanted to start doing every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that doing lives was valuable. I knew that it, helped. Facebook likes it, and so you get
SEO
on
stuff.
there. Oh yeah, all the things. So I was like, okay, well, I need to start going live. And I had already been going live like on our projects and stuff. And now I've started going live for some of these materials that are coming to my house. Like, okay, well, let me show you this post-it. And anyways, but I wanted to do it personally. And I had no idea what to talk about. Like, I had no clue what to talk about. But I just got into a place, I really don't know how. I just got to a place where I wanted to share the things that I was navigating through and how I was looking at them, or just what my mindset was, or whatever. And I wanted to be real about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to give advice on one thing or another. It's more just the mindset of navigating through some of this stuff. And it kind of fills me up to do it and to remind myself. It's usually at the end of the day when I do the lives, and remind myself of what I learned that day or what I realized that morning. And it's nice to hear it again. And so I don't know, I really don't know. I couldn't tell you how many people watch it. I couldn't tell you anything. I just put it out there, and if it speaks to somebody, that's fabulous. And if nobody watches it, well, that's fabulous too. It's all good.
Well, I can tell you you're being watched. So
I appreciate that.
that's how we met you, Elizabeth, is
Yeah.
via Facebook. And Karen just came to me and she said, "You have got to meet Elizabeth Greever," and she's like, she's just inspirational. And I think also you were nominated for Women of the Year last year, which, okay, people are noticing you. And did they tell you who nominated you, and how was this? How does that whole thing happen?
Yeah, so of the year campaign, there's a man of the year and a woman of the year campaign for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And
Okay.
so they do it in cities all across the US. And yes, somebody that I networked with for years, she had done it the year prior, and so she me. And ultimately, whoever wins is whoever raises the most money. But it's a 10-week fundraising, getting out there in the community, doing all these things to raise money for the local LLS chapter, which I really like. So LLS is, a big across the country organization, but we were raising money for the Gulf Coast chapter. And
Okay.
so the money was going to these patients that were here, going to the research that's happening right here at our hospital. So it was pretty cool to get to do that and just be a part of that impact. And that's actually where a lot of my Facebook stuff started also, because I was talking about it all the time and doing all of these different things, trying to get people involved. And it really pushed me outside of my comfort zone, which was super cool. So, but it was such a great honor to one, even just be nominated.
True.
But to get the opportunity to do that, I mean, that campaign, I mean, these people are raising tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars per person. I mean, it is unreal the amount of money. And I've never been in a situation where I was raising that kind of money, And so it was neat to be a part of, and really an honor for that organization to say, like, yes, we want you to more or less represent us, right? I mean, so it was really neat. It was a really good experience, and I'm so grateful that I was able to do that.
That is so huge. That is so huge. Thank you so much. And I mean, talk about touching people's lives right here in our community. That's amazing. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what is what has been maybe the best advice you've ever been given?
This really has nothing to do with my business, but this is
And
the
that's
first thing that comes
fine.
to mind. So when I was a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and Andy and I were married, and we were looking at houses, one of the teachers that I worked with, she was a teacher and her husband worked contract work.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, Elizabeth, when you buy your house, buy one that you can live off of one person's salary. Because for years and years and years, her husband, you're in and out of work, contract work, right? Like,
Right.
so you have a job and then the job finishes, and hopefully you have another one lined up, but you don't know. There could be some lag or
Mhm.
whatever. But they were always okay. They were always able to stay in their home because they could afford it off of her salary. And that was really powerful. And I will say that between her and Andy's, Andy being very adamant about like, hey, I don't want to spend an X number of dollars. Ultimately, when we bought our house, we were under what we wanted to spend, but we made sure that we were able to afford it off of one
One
person's
salary.
salary. And that has been a blessing to us, seriously,
Mhm.
since day one. My husband used to teach and coach as well. And the year we got married, that summer when we got married, he was not going to school. He was starting a new job. He was starting a sales position, and he was a new sales. I mean, he's never, had never done sales before. So bottom of the totem pole, took a pay cut, things. And but we were okay. We
Mhm.
were able to make it. It was just us and our Cooper. So, that made it easy, at least in that regard. But we were always confident in like our situation, at least with our home, right? Like we had a place where we were okay.
Yeah.
And so he had changed a couple times with his job. Always a step up, which has been a huge blessing. Still, it gave him the flexibility to do that, right? There was no, oh, we have all this overhead, you can't quit.
Right.
And then the same thing for me when I was ready to leave education, which was a few years after him. um, I was able to do so, and we were still okay in our house. Like, that does not mean that like we were pretty and fine, but ultimately our basic needs were met.
Right.
And so it allowed us to be able to build a business that we wanted to, for Andy to get the career that he wanted. And it's really powerful.
It's
And
huge.
and now that I'm in the business that I'm in, when you come across the people that are in a financial situation where they need to sell their house, nobody does that intentionally. Nobody wants, and nobody that, but life happens to all of
Yes.
us. And when your AC breaks, which ours has broken in the August, and there's nothing fun about that.
No,
You have
especially
to
in
be able to pay for
August.
it. Yes, and I'm doing my makeup in the car because it's so hot in the house. You have to be able to pay for that stuff, and I think
Right.
that's where people get in trouble. Is, oh, I'm approved for, I don't know, $300,000 house. Sure, I can afford the mortgage, no problem. But what about everything else?
Right. Right.
And I've never forgotten that. It has just, and I've always been so grateful.
Mhm.
Because we might not be in the house that we're in if she hadn't said that to me. And again, if Andy hadn't been very like, hey, this is what I want to spend, I would have been like, we're fine. We can, go this
Yeah.
neighborhood, and mathematically it would have been okay. But ultimately, we
In
wouldn't have been,
reality.
I don't know, who knows? And so I just think that, I don't know, that was just one of the best things that was ever said to me. And I've never forgotten it.
That is good stuff. That it gave
Mhm.
you freedom. That
It,
it has given you freedom and freedom to do what really, it's like, yeah, you started a career, you thought, oh, I'm going to be a teacher for the rest of my life, but God had a different plan.
yeah.
And he's, I'm sure, used a lot of the things that you've learned for teaching, but everybody has this
Yeah.
journey, and what I did yesterday may not be what I'm doing tomorrow.
Right.
But we're going to learn from everything, and to have the ability to have that freedom
Mhm.
because you're financially safe and clean is amazing.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Who's been your biggest cheerleader?
My husband.
Your husband. That is awesome. That is awesome.
From the get go, we were both terrified when I quit my job, and we both wanted to happen, but we didn't know. We didn't know,
Hmm.
But he has always encouraged me. He's always talked me through. I'll never forget when I first started. I would cry and cry and cry and cry and cry when I had to make offers to sellers. It was so uncomfortable to do it, and I don't want to upset these people. I don't know, it's just so weird. The only purchase was my own, and the realtor made the offer. It's just not the same thing. And he would always talk through it with me and be so encouraging. And actually, I remember one night, so I had to make a phone call, totally cried about it. Andy talked me through it, and I was like, okay, I just need like a break for a second. So of course I'm like scrolling Instagram, which is ridiculous, but this quote came up and it said something like, a person's success in life can be defined by the number of uncomfortable situations he or she is willing to have. And I was like, whoa, okay. What I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have uncomfortable conversations. And to this day, I don't like them. I don't like having to have tough conversations with people. It takes me time to kind of prep and think through whatever it is that we need to talk about. I'm a note taker, so sometimes I've got notes like to make sure I, clock through everything. But I know it's worth it to pick up the phone and have that conversation. And I think that that was something that I emotionally in the beginning, but again, like that's Andy's just always been there and he's always believed in me. And anytime down or I'm not doing a good job or whatever, he's like, yes, you are. Like, stop even saying that kind of stuff. Like, he just won't even, it's like it's not tolerated, like, how dare you say that about yourself? You're doing amazing. And I appreciate that because always, he always believes in me. It's just unbelievable. I don't
love
know.
that.
I don't know. So
I
he's just,
totally love that. And it's like it's that self-talk that we have to really, really listen, really watch what we're listening to,
yeah.
and we have a choice to say, no, 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 get out of here. I am good. And, I'm a child of God and he thinks I'm amazing. So,
Mary,
but
I'm sorry. I don't know if you can hear me, but everything's breaking up all of a sudden.
yeah, I've seen that. You're kind of frozen right now. Is there something we can do, Jonathan? Oh, okay. It's our time. Anyway, thank you, Elizabeth. This has been so much fun. And we will talk to you soon. Have a great day.